Assalamu alaikum, guys. Welcome to Freshly Grounded episode 221. Sorry that it's out a bit later in the day than usual, but we shot this episode today and boy, is it something. But before we start, guys, I just want to let you know about a brand new project that I've started called The Huddles. The Huddles, or the Huddles.xyz, which is our domain, is a weekly video conference call with some of the most successful people who are killing it in their game. The Huddles, like a huddle, a conversation, begin this upcoming Thursday, and it's an exclusive private community. Don't miss out. Go to thehuddles.xyz or click the link in the description to see my video that I made on my personal channel all about this. Now let's talk about the episode. This episode is with Zazi Ali, and boy is it, I already said boy is it something, but boy is it something. I was captured by Zazi's story when we had a chat a few weeks back, and he very kindly accepted the invitation to jump on Freshly Grounded and open up about his story for hopefully you guys to benefit from. I won't give away too much, but I suppose the essence of this episode is trying to inspire others and make them realize that even if you start with a really testing childhood and tough times, that doesn't mean that you can't pick yourself up. And I hope that's what you take away from this episode. And I'm going to leave it there because I want you guys to really benefit from it. But here is episode 221 of Freshly Grounded with Zazi Ali.
And welcome to Freshly Grounded, the brand new podcast.
Well, it's not exactly brand new anymore, is it?
Welcome to Freshly Grounded, the podcast.
That's better.
Created by best friends Faisal and Sam.
Huh?
I said welcome to Freshly Grounded.
After that bit.
Created by
After that bit.
best friends Faisal and Sam.
Really?
Okay, Zazi. Assalamu alaikum, bro. How you doing?
Walaikum salam. Alhamdulillah, man.
You're nervous, bro.
Yeah, because I think I mentioned earlier, I've never done this before, so it's new to me. Yeah.
Well, that's nice because it's like what's nice about having someone on who is not someone who enjoys being public facing is that you can see the sincerity in the fact that they just want to have a beneficial conversation, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the reason why I took up your invitation.
So let's rewind it all the way back before we even get into the conversation of your story, because to give some context, like you very humbly attended one of my seminars, and then that's how we got to know each other, and then we were meant to, based like off of the back of that, like have a meet up, and then the lockdown started, and then this and then that, and then we just never met, and then we ended up meeting. We had a Zoom meeting like last week or something, right? And then it was meant to be like a 15-minute meeting or 20-minute meeting.
Ended up 2 hours.
2 hours long we were speaking. You were telling me your story, and I found it so fascinating. So I really do want to get into your story, but yeah, where did it start? Like, where did you hear about Freshly Grounded and stuff? Because you came to one of the events.
So I think it all started when I was looking for information online, and I was looking for different types of podcasts to listen to about, like self-development, and just generally improving your health, fitness, and just getting to know what's going on in the world. And I came across Freshly Grounded on YouTube because it recommends what you search. And then I started listening to them, all of your podcasts. And
how many episodes were we in at that point? Because you said you listened to every single one. That's absurd.
I think I was on... It was definitely below the 100 because it wasn't before the event. So it must have been like 80 something. Okay. And then, of course, I listened to the ones before, and now up to 200 odd. And then the funny thing is, I wasn't actually going to come to the event because I think I had something planned. And I thought, you know what, let me spend at least an hour. Because it's rude if you don't attend. I spent an hour, and then I left, and I met, I think at the time I met Sam. I was looking for you, but I think you were backstage, preparing for your next guest. So yeah, alhamdulillah, yeah, it's probably been 2 years now.
Who did you come with?
On my own.
No.
Yeah, I came on my own.
That's amazing.
The funny thing is, I actually drove down from Northwest London to King's Cross, right?
Yeah.
Remind me. And then I found, you got Park Your Car app. It's called Ringo. Got Park Your Car. Yeah, find a driveway, something like that. And I found someone's driveway to park on.
Really?
Because I didn't want to come by train.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah,
Literally yesterday, I had to go somewhere. I got my teeth whitened yesterday. You can't really tell. You can't tell, can you?
I can tell.
Can you?
Yeah, I can tell.
I was going to say maybe you can't tell because my teeth were so yellow before, but I got my teeth whitened and I went into London, and so I paid my congestion card like 3 minutes before the deadline at like 11:57. But I do that as well, man.
Is it every day now, congestion charge, right?
Yeah, and also the app that I use is called Just Park, right?
That's the one, Just Park.
Bro, how good is that app? I always, whenever you drive, yesterday I drove down Central and I parked in an underground secure car park that's like gated with a custom code, and it's £2.80 for hours.
As opposed to
paying like £8 on a bay. You know what I mean? That's not even safe. Like,
Yeah.
or less safe. This is like an underground locked up. And the other advantages is that you just, you know exactly where your parking is going to be and stuff. The worst thing is driving around London trying to find an available
No, I
bay
agree
and
with
stuff.
you. And that's why I use Just Park,
Yeah.
actually. That's the app I was talking about. And then I walked from where I parked. It was like a 5-minute walk to the theatre.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was called now, but yeah.
King, I think it's called King's Place.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently Prince done a performance there once.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And also Freshly
Freshly
Grounded.
Grounded, So there we are. But listen, let's. I know we don't have like all the time in the world, so let's get started because I want to talk about your story. I think it's so inspirational. I think many people will benefit from this. People who are either going through a hardship right now or have not had the easiest start to life. I think for me, what your story was a sense of motivation, that there's light at the end of the tunnel, you know, and share as much or as little as you feel comfortable to share, because I know it's a very sensitive story. But I don't know, I guess let's start with the story of like, what was life like pre 5 years old, and how much of it do you remember? Because obviously at 5 years old was when there was like a big shift in everything. So what was life like before that?
Wow. Interesting question, actually. I think, so looking back at my childhood, I think the key thing here is like my mother and father weren't on good terms, unfortunately.
Okay.
So we were living with our mother at that time. And what I remember is, wow, I'm just going to look back at my memory now. So what I remember is we used to live in the East End of London in East Ham. And we were living, of course, my mum, my 4 other siblings at that time. And we used to go to a primary. Well, we went to the local primary school, and unfortunately, I didn't get a place until, of course, further down, probably 1 or 2 years after. So all my siblings were in primary school, but unfortunately, I wasn't. So I had to stay home with my mother. Sorry,
Do you remember much before you? I don't remember anything.
I don't remember much. No.
But do you remember a relationship with your mum at all?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Okay.
I do remember vaguely how my mum, used to take care of us like every other mother does. But it was post 5 is when I think things started to unravel. When unfortunately we lost our mother to an arson attack. And I think when we were speaking last, I mentioned it, and I think that's one thing that you.
Yeah, that was
You
really
were quite
shocking. So
intrigued
you
about,
were
yeah.
introducing yourself or something. You kind of explained your story very
Yeah.
kindly, like kind of opening up, and that was like took me by surprise, man, because we were just kind of having a chat about some potential business together, I guess.
But I think I wanted to lay the table just to let you know what I'm about, I think. And I think that's always good to just, tell people your experiences, and I think they can relate. And I saw you could relate from your past experience. And I think for me, the loss of our mother kind of built us to what we are now. So nothing can phase us, nothing can put us down. Rejection is not, it's nothing to be honest for us, because we know our mother was like, at that time, she would be happy if she was around. She would be happy for us, in the sense that all of us have, got married, and my brother's getting married now. Half of my siblings have graduated. We were working, and I think if mum was around at that time, which she would be happy to see us happy, in the sense that, every mother wants to see their kids, in situations where they are celebrating success, they're getting married, they're having children. I think those are the points where you think, oh, my mother's not around. I wish if she was around, she could, see that we're happy. But I want to go a step back, and I want to go as to what happened. I think that's one thing that I didn't mention much when we spoke. And my mother was an amazing woman, and unfortunately things didn't work out between my father and her, and it was a bad situation in 1987, actually the year that Diana passed away. And I remember mentioning to you that just in Ruislip they've got the Northolt base where Diana's body flew in.
Yeah, the RAF, yeah.
And then I don't know if you remember, but everyone on the motorway stopped because they knew Diana's body was coming. So everyone, it's like if you put it on the net, you'll see that everyone on the motorway knew Diana's body is landing in Ruislip's Northolt base. Northolt base, I think it's called. It's the Army.
Northolt RAF, yeah.
RAF, that's exactly. And literally everyone on the motorway stopped, parked their car, and out of respect, they've come out of their car to see what's happening, because they knew Diana was like the heart of the UK, right? And the same year, my mother passed away, a few months before, I think. She was actually passed away in an arson attack or a house fire, which unfortunately took her life and also took the life of my younger sister.
How old was your younger sister?
So Salia, my younger sister, was at that time I think 1 or 2.
Salia?
Salia, yeah.
Okay.
If I remember, I think 1 or 2, because at that age you don't really recollect everything.
Man.
But then going back, I think you have to see that as kids, she was on the life support machine, so we had to. What's the word? So we had to go and see her in hospital, but I'm going to take a step back now, and it's probably part of the story. Is my father, unfortunately, he. It's not funny, but it's quite another sensitive area. Unfortunately, he was in Pakistan. Being Pakistani background, he was in Pakistan. He was traveling
at the time of the arson attack.
Not at the time. This was like a couple of months before. I think a year before, maybe 6 months. Again, my dates might be a bit.
So, with the arson attack itself, were you in the house?
No.
It was just your mum and your little sister in the house?
Just my mum and my little sister, yeah.
Okay.
So we were at that time at my grandparents' house.
SubhanAllah.
And my father, the story kind of unfolds. My father was in Pakistan a couple of months before, and unfortunately someone plotted drugs on him. So imagine, the hot pot that you make chapati in,
yeah,
or roti if you wanna
yeah,
say it in plain English. Someone plotted drugs, Class A at that time. I don't know exactly the amount or whatever. Someone put it in his suitcase, and then of course he was caught at Heathrow Airport. He served a stretch of 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did he get to fight for his innocence?
I don't know the ins and outs of it, but
Fine.
7 years now. If you meet my father now, of course he's gone through a lot. He's a very simple man. He's a taxi driver. He's a simple man. He doesn't trouble anyone. He just does his thing, and he's been working for the past, say, 50 years now, doing the same thing. So that happened, and then my 2 sisters at that time. So my mother was in life support at that time, and my younger sister passed away from smoke inhalation. So yeah, it's a tough one, but look, alhamdulillah, look, we're where we are, and it builds you, right, as a strong individual. So yeah, so that's what happened. And then my 2 sisters, who are both older than me by 2 years and 1 year, and then me and my brother, we were living in excuse me. Let me just have some coffee.
Have you ever spoken about this before in public?
No, this is actually probably the first time in public. Of course, the family are aware of what's happened, and
it's just it's so multifaceted, the story, and probably so relatable to so many people. The fact that on one end there was the situation with your mother, rahimahullah, and then there was a situation with your dad, and it was almost all seems to be happening so simultaneously. Right?
And as a child, you actually don't know what to think or what to do. And imagine me and my sisters were living in a how can I say, foster care.
Yeah.
So they were living with an English family in Essex. We don't know where. Me and my brother were living with another English family in Essex. And imagine, as kids, we don't know what's going on. We don't know whether you're eating halal. You don't know anything. No one's teaching you about Islam. you don't know what's happening. And imagine we're living with foster care for a couple of years while they investigate who did what and what's happening.
So someone threw something into the house?
So someone threw a petrol bomb in the house through the front door.
Oh my
and it lit the whole house up.
Instantly.
And this was early hours of the morning. Yeah. Yeah.
It's such an evil thing.
Yeah, and to this day, I think I don't think they've found who was the culprit or who did that.
So you were mentioning when you were in ICU.
So the foster care parents took us. I think it was the foster care. I might be wrong here. They took us to the hospitals to see our mother.
Okay.
And imagine she's in life support. She's elevated, and she's got the. I think it's the oxygen or something in the mouth. You know, when you have the tubes in the mouth. So she was then, and imagine. Wow.
Yeah, bro. I can imagine. Take your time, man. By the way, bro, we don't have to talk about like any of it. Do you know what I mean, bro? I find your story so inspiring in so many ways because of coming from such a tough spot, and then now being someone who's got a great job in the corporate world. You've invested in startups and just a full circle. Amazing. Do you know what I mean? And
no, I think I'm gonna speak about it because I think I want people to see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So let's take a step back. So she was on life support machine, and I think I was 5. My brother was 4. My sisters were 6 and 7, I think, at that time. And her belongings were to the side, and like we I didn't think I would cry, man. So yeah, we touched. I touched her hand, and thinking, Mom, are you gonna wake up?
man,
I need a tissue.
we'll take a quick.
Let's take a break, man. Yeah, I'm good, man. Let's continue, bro.
You sure, yeah?
Yeah, man. I didn't expect that. Let's continue, yeah, because I actually want to talk about it more. Yeah, let's continue. I'm going to continue where I was, yeah.
Okay.
So we was in the hospital and we touched Mum's hand, and we thought she's going to be fine. We thought she's going to be okay, that she's going to recover. But I don't know the period between us visiting and the actual date she passed away. So I think 60% burns and of course smoke inhalation was the result of her death. So she passed away in 1997. So yeah.
And like I said, bro, if at any point we take any more breaks or you don't want to carry on.
Yeah, of course, man. Look, I'm a strong man. You have to continue, man.
You are strong, man, bro. You walk. I was downstairs trying to find you the car park and just hear like the widest man I'm walking through.
No,
strolling through.
No, I'm not. I'm nobody, man.
And the first thing he gives me, I just finished the workout.
No, I actually went for a run because my partner complains that I put on a lot of weight.
Who, your wife? Oh gosh,
she complains.
You look well built, bro.
Alhamdulillah, I think it's from the grandparents. So we're originally from, they're originally from Jhelum, sides of Pakistan.
We're from Jhelum, side of Pakistan.
No way.
Yeah, we never even spoke about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, Jhelum's got an amazing history.
Oh, do you guys speak Punjabi? Oh no,
we speak Urdu and a bit of Punjabi. My grandparents and my dad and that understand and speak it.
Fine.
But Jhelum's got an amazing history. So Alexander the Great. Went to Jhelum, and in Jhelum, of course, the men were at that time quite strong and quite well built.
Like us, Jhelum boys.
Not
like us.
No, not us. I think they were much more built at that time. Built in the sense that they were quite they had strong immune systems.
Yeah.
And they took people from Jhelum to come and help in the UK, labourers mainly.
Okay.
So you'll see in the UK a lot of the demographics and a lot of the people from Pakistan, a lot of them are from Jhelum. So if you go to Bradford, if you go to Manchester, certain parts of London, Birmingham, a lot of the families.
I heard Walthamstow as well.
Yeah, big Muslim, big Pakistani community, and that's why, and also the dam was at that time there, and the dam came, the water in the area due to the dam, the land came underwater, and as a result of that, the British government said, look, we'll house the main families in the UK, and then we'll provide jobs, etc. So I think if you speak to a lot of the elderlies, the first generation that came to the UK, they will tell you the history behind it and why they came here. They weren't forced to come here, but they were given a choice. And alhamdulillah, look now, there's like so many generations now here, 3 or 4 generations.
Yeah, I know that, like, because Jhelum is not one of like the big main cities, right? Like Sialkot and Lahore and so forth, so forth. So like it's probably like maybe not like got the best branding, right? But I'm so like I used to, like, my mum's side was from Sialkot and my dad's side was from Jhelum, right? And when people used to ask where I'm from, I'd be like, Sialkot, like, yeah. And I was like, you know what, I'm from Jhelum, like, and then I went there recently about 2 years, about 2 years ago. Oh, nice. Went there, it was lovely, man. And you know, because I think the connotation is like you said, labourers, farmers, a lot of farmers. Then my dad's family is all like a family of like vegetable farmers. Oh, nice. And so he would tell me about his routine in the mornings. He'd wake up and he'd go to the farm in the morning, then go to school. Then he'd, like, on the way back from school, he would sell the vegetables to the market, and then he'd bring some back for his mum to cook for dinner and stuff like that. So that's quite, you know, a thing to be proud of, to be honest. So
yeah, definitely. Have you been recently? Was it last?
Yeah, it was recently. It was about 2 years ago, maybe.
Did you take
I was a grown man.
Your partner and your child as well?
No, my son wasn't born at the time. Yeah. And so I imagine perhaps my wife could have been pregnant, or for some reason she couldn't make it. So I went with my brother and my sisters and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think we're planning to do a trip post-COVID. Yeah. My parents just came back. Well, my father and my father's still out there, actually. Okay. My stepmother has come back with my step siblings. Amazing. They just landed yesterday, and they had to pay the COVID test is like £210 per person.
And they don't tell you that on the news.
No, they don't. No. Yeah. It's not nice. But
and you have to pay. Otherwise, you're not allowed to fly.
Yeah. And you have to isolate for 10 days. As well, so.
Fine. Are you good to?
Yeah. Let's continue, man.
Fine. So, we didn't. So by this time, was your dad in prison?
So my father was in prison, serving the long stretch. Of course, he was made aware through my uncle.
Wow, in prison.
In prison. Wow. So my uncle was the first person informed. This is my dad's brother, youngest brother.
Oh my gosh.
And he was informed that there was a fire, and unfortunately, my mother was caught up, and the youngest sibling passed away.
And that youngest sibling was your dad's daughter?
Yes, at that time, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And he had to find out in prison.
Yeah, unfortunately, he found out in prison, and then of course I think he served a 5-year stretch. If I'm correct, the 7-year he did a 5-year stretch. I don't even know what prison, because we didn't have a clue. And when he came out, so this is where it got very interesting, in the sense that my uncle that knew about what happened, he and of course my other family members through the wider community, they went to the social services and said, look, we want to have custody, along with my grandfather and my grandmother, of us 4. At that time it was us 4. So they fought the court battles to get custody of us. And of course at that time my uncle was actually educated, and he was able to. My grandparents didn't even know much English at that time, or didn't know much about the legal system in the UK. And this is back in 1997, 8, possibly 9. I think 9, sorry, 1999. So they fought the court cases. They managed to get custody of us. And now a next journey begins, whereby our grandparents were like our parents, if that makes sense. So they raised us as young kids.
So you're like 9 years old at this age. So now you're like fully... 1999, you would have been 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah, that's correct.
And so now, from this point, you must remember a lot.
Yeah, we remember a lot more than...
Do you remember much about your foster parents? Or
Yeah, we do.
You
Yeah,
do?
so we used to have a lot of fun. Like,
Okay.
in the sense that they used to take us to. It was quite a nice area in Essex. We don't know where. They used to take us to the fields, and there used to be rabbits. We used to see rabbits everywhere. Me and my brother, of course.
With the other kids?
There was no other kids. Of course, they had their own kids, and they were slightly older.
I see.
And we had our own room and our own bunk bed and whatnot. And we used to play, like, at that time it was Nintendo.
Mhm.
So me and my brother used to play, and we used to have like picnics in the garden. They had an open, massive garden at that time. So I remember that. But then most of the memories come when my grandparents took custody of us.
Sure.
And I think that's where you know, the Islamic values were brought into us. You know, we learned more about family. We understood mum's not around no more. So we started to understand, look, mum's not around. We need to not work hard at that time. We didn't know what work hard was. So then...
Was all four of you with your grandparents by then?
Yeah.
How was it reuniting with your sisters?
I think my sisters went through it more because they were slightly older. So they knew exactly the suffering that my mum went through at that time.
Fine.
And passing away. They saw more of it and understood it more. And it kind of, I think it affects them more now that they're adults. But me and my brother, we were kind of protected from it. And I think it's good that we were protected from it because it's built us to what we are now, or where alhamdulillah, what we've achieved. Not much in my eyes, but in our family's eyes, alhamdulillah, we've done good as opposed to what we could have. We could have just, you know, we could have sold drugs in the East End. We could have got involved with the wrong crowd. But alhamdulillah, now my brother's a dentist. I work in the corporate world. And I think going back and going through these experiences kind of gave us that, you know, we're men now and we have to take that responsibility and nothing can faze us. We need to make our mum proud. And of course, my father. So let's take a step forward now.
Okay.
We're living with our grandparents, and imagine old school grandparents. They make like traditional food all the time, and we're living with our chachu at that time, and he was like, in essence, he was like our father figure at that time. He used to take us places. When he used to go buy cars, we used to go with him, take us to, you know, like to shops, theme parks, Thorpe Park, and at that time Chessington, World of Adventures. So he used to do alhamdulillah a lot for us, and we do thank him for that, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be living with our grandparents at that time. Fast forward a couple of years, my father, you know, is able to live with us now due to all the legal implications. So he lives in the same household as my grandparents and of course my uncle at that time. And just imagine he's alone. He's lost his first wife. And as a man that's gone through so much, losing his wife, you know, not earning what I find was quite low income at that time. And every man needs a partner, right? So he didn't have a partner for a good 5 years, I would say. And we're, of course, teenagers, we're growing up. And of course, we moved several times, different houses in the East End, in the Forest Gate area, which is not known for, you know, being posh or anything, a rough area at that time. And yeah, my father, like, bless my grandparents, because just some of the things that I can remember is, like, imagine choosing your right school to go to, like secondary school. They didn't have a clue where to send us. So they would just tick the first option or second. They didn't know. Yeah. So I was sent to a very rough school. At that time, it's called Rokubi. It was just full of ethnic, so black and Asian kids, all boys. So imagine it was quite rough. The pass rate was like around 23%. And it's crazy. And my brother went to a slightly better school, Forest Gate. Alhamdulillah, he got a bit lucky. I think they must have ticked the right box.
Yeah. How come you guys didn't go to the same school?
I don't know, you know. I still, to this day, think, why weren't we sent to the same school? But Allah knows best. You know?
Yeah. So you and your brother must be really close, because you're like, what, 1 year apart?
1 year apart. We actually, we're not that close.
Really?
We clash a lot.
No.
Because he's just recently graduated, I think a year and a half ago, in dentistry, and he's just starting to get into the responsibilities of, you know, going out into the world and earning, etc. And I started way before him, because he had to study again. So there was a 5-year gap between him seeing what, you know, potential he has. So because I'm married and I've got my life and moved on, and he's just about settling. So there is that, you know, that different paths that we're in. But alhamdulillah, I love him to bits, and he's making decisions now, which is making everyone, happy for him. Alhamdulillah.
So, okay. So how were things then? Because I do want to get to the kind of the like how we're at where we are now.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I think there's
other things I want to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. So you're now. How is it getting used to living with your dad and stuff again? Because it seems like you have a great relationship with your dad even now.
I think the relationships is much better now. But when we were living with our parents, my dad was just hi, bye. How many rotiyan do you want to eat?
Okay, yeah.
Like, that's it. He was completely disconnect with us because of course, you need to understand, the man's come out of prison. You don't know what's happening in prison, what his mental state is. He's come out, he's found out his wife's passed away. And again, that adds to the mental stress. And he has to feed 4 more mouths, essentially, along with being the eldest my father's the eldest sibling of my uncles and aunties. Now imagine he has to also feed my grandparents and also us 4. So just see the pressure on him. So alhamdulillah, look, Allah's blessed him now with another wife, with my stepmother, and now he's happy. But just imagine you've come out and you don't know who's going to iron your clothes. Like traditional Asian women, they're amazing. At that time, they'll cook for you, they'll clean, etc. And you look, our mothers, you have to bless them, right? Because they went through a lot with our parents. Now, my dad didn't have that for a good couple of years. So he just got up, went work, come home, and his mother, my grandma, may Allah grant her the highest place in Jannah, she used to cook for everyone, and she was like the doctor. She used to, if you sprain your ankle, she used to like put haldi on it, all of these remedies, etc.
Yeah, that's what my nan's like. If I'm ever sick, I just want to be at my nan's house, because she'll give you so much attention and sympathy. That's what you need when you're not.
Because they were the carriers of the family.
Yeah.
And without them, I don't know, I think the family would have been broken. And of course, my grandfather's still alive, and he's in his early 90s now. But may Allah give him a long life as well. So yeah, I wanted to say that. Yeah, so my father went through that tough time, and then now this is when we were starting school, and choosing schools was we didn't have that. And when you come home, you want your mother to cook you lovely food, right? Being a teenager, you don't know what's out there and who's going to give you guidance, because my dad was disconnect from us. He was just work. And then things like renewals of your passport.
How do you do that?
Who does that for you? It would be your mother and your father, right? When your father's disconnect, who does that for you? Ironing your clothes, simple things like that. Ironing your clothes, or teaching you the morals and all of these small things that we take for granted now in this day and age, and that level of respect. This is where my grandparents acted, and of course my sister to an extent when she got a bit older, as our parents. So they took us to masjid. They took us to the local masjid. They enrolled us, me and my brother, and of course my sisters as well. And they taught us like the basics of Islam. Otherwise, we would disconnect from the religion. And I wouldn't say I'm the best Muslim out there, but we know what's right and what's wrong.
It's amazing how the grandparents have that, because even me, my earliest recollections of like Islamic things is like my nan making me read the Fatiha to her, like so that I know how to pray and stuff like that. Yeah. And you think now like, wow, they was really trying to invest in that. And it's amazing how like you said, you grew up without parents and for the fundamental years in non-Muslim household, yet you've become someone who's like conscious of Allah, like Allah's name is just always rolling off your tongue. And bro, there's people in the opposite, bro, who are going up around the deen and then not. So it's amazing to see. Even my idea was to talk about the fact that like when you have a rough start, you can make it in a dunya sense, but even from the sense of like, alhamdulillah, your grandparents made sure you guys went to the masjid and they introduced you to Islam, which is beautiful.
Because when we were in foster care, like I said, we don't know whether we were eating halal or not. Who knew? And imagine like our grandparents took our custody, and they were the ones that put us back on, taught us the basics of religion and what's right, what's wrong, and a bit of the cultural stuff, because you can't just park the
cultural
aspect to it. And I think the key thing you need to remember here is, if it wasn't for them, and I don't know if you raised up in the East End. I think you're from West London side, right?
West.
And if you're raised in the East End, if you get hold of the wrong friends or the wrong crowd, you can go down a very wrong path. And like I said, I could have got involved in the wrong in drug dealing, for example. And I'm not saying everyone's a drug dealer in East London, which is not the case, but you can easily get into that trap. And alhamdulillah, we were protected from my sisters and my uncle, and of course my grandparents.
Your family, your grandparents, your sisters, your uncles, they just all sound like such amazing individuals who like rally together, when times got tough. And it's amazing to hear that, man.
Yeah, I think they went through their challenges as well, and I think they're going through challenges now as well. Like, of course, my granddad's at that age where his health is just completely, at a standstill. And still, I think my dad's mental health is still something we all question, all the siblings. And of course, it's still our father. We have to still respect him, right? But we know he's still got certain scars from his past. Like, what man do you know comes out of prison, like I mentioned again, comes out of prison, loses his wife, and what mental state is he going through? He could have committed suicide. He could have said, look, I don't want any of this, I'm leaving. But he didn't. He took the responsibility, and he had to raise us with our grandparents.
Seems like almost like a common trait, like genetically, like that you, when things get tough, it seems like you have a character where you pick yourself up, you dust off your shoulders, and you see what you can kind of make happen, and that's what I found so inspiring, bro. So you're done with school now?
Yeah.
Or like you're in school, you're in high school, and so where are we at now? Like, paint a picture for me. So
we're at so then we, after leaving Rokeby, I remember how rough it was, man.
Rokeby even sounds like a rough school.
It was literally full of blacks and Asian kids, and at that time the Asian kids were slim, and they didn't have a presence, but the black brothers, they were built, man. I don't know what they were eating, but they were like athletic, good at basketball, football. You hardly saw an Asian kid playing football on an AstroTurf because they were just going to get pushed off the ball. So just imagine at that time, and you look back and you think, I'm glad I went to that school, because it taught me a lot, in the sense that it built you as a man.
If you were going to say it learned me a lot saying I'm glad I went to that school, alhamdulillah, you saved it. It taught you a lot.
It taught me a lot, yeah, sorry. You're recording?
It's recording.
Oh, sorry.
And that's staying in.
No, so it taught you a lot in the sense, it taught me a lot in the sense that it built you as a man. Like, if I went to a different school, I don't know how I would have come out. And the pass rate was ridiculous, like 20% at that time, A to B. And then once I came out of Rokeby, I went to Sir George Monarch's College in Walthamstow, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and my sister actually teaches there.
Wow.
So just crazy, right? So went there, did my A-levels, and then went to university actually here.
Yeah, you said,
I think I mentioned Brunel in Uxbridge. So I did a 4-year course there. In economics. In economics, yeah. And in my third year, I did like a placement year. And it's something which I would recommend to any university student or any student that's planning to study. Make sure, if your institute has a 4-year option, 4-year sandwich course it's called, make sure you do it, because in your third year you get the opportunity to apply for like a gap year where you go out in the industry and you get paid for it.
Now, when you go out in the industry in your third year course, in the third year of your course, and you get paid for that as well, I assume that most university students are expecting that they're going to get a pay of some kind of student-like kind of pricing. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know, you'd be lucky if you get anything above 24K. How did that process go for you?
I think this is where I need to thank my mentors at that time. So I'm gonna name them. So my first mentor at that time was Moby. He was actually working for Citigroup as the global head of transactions at that time, and Citigroup's a worldwide investment bank, and also Bindi. So Moby was of the African background, so he's Nigerian, and at that time, just imagine, he was a director at that time, and one of the only black directors
That's
at City.
amazing.
So he started very early and he done very well in his career. He was very old, of course. He was in his 50s when I met him. And then Bindi, also similar background. He was a Sikh, similar background. And imagine, he was wearing a pug in the city, working for one of the biggest banks at that time. And I think Vikram Pandit was the CEO at that time.
Okay.
So they helped me secure an interview with one of the directors for a placement year.
Okay.
It wasn't just me. There was another chap as well. I'll name him. It was Ade. He went to the same college as me, and it was the last day of deadline.
Oh yeah.
Just imagine, last day of deadline to sign up for a third year course, so that you don't come back for your third year in your fourth year. So in your third year, you would come back, and then I managed to get the contract. I managed to secure the role. Now I'm getting on the train from Forest Gate, Central Line, Stratford, sorry, all the way to, I think it was Ruislip, and I jumped on a bus to go to Uxbridge. I don't remember what bus number it was, but
From Ruislip, you could have probably got a train to Uxbridge, two, 3 stops.
yeah, I think I was saving the pennies at that time.
Yeah. That's
So I had my contract with me. Now imagine, my contract's then the placement officer was waiting for me because it was the last deadline day. I went there, put my contract down. She wanted to look at it, sign it, and take a copy for the university. She looks at the contract and she says, "Wow, no way." And she looked at, of course, how much I was going to be earning at that time. Is £40,000,
And £40,000 as well.
Yeah.
10 years ago was more than £40,000 now, and £40,000 now is a great salary.
Yeah.
And you got offered 40,000
Just for a placement year. So I was working. So the placement year was for a year, of course, and in the interim, it was paying me what I would never have thought. And someone like myself, I thought I would never be able to be given that opportunity. But if it wasn't for my hunger to get a placement year and the mentors that I had at the time, and I think this relates back to the audience, is if you can get a mentor, whether it's your family member, whether it's in your network, whether it's someone that you know.
the huddles.
The huddles, yeah.
Yeah.
Inshallah, why not?
Inshallah.
Get yourself a mentor because they have gone through what you want to go through, and try finding someone that's within your industry, whether it's finance, whether it's the IT world, whether it's in the legal field. So they set the stone for me at that time, and I always thank Allah, because if it wasn't for the hard work, dedication, and continuing to, show family that we have, we're working hard. It's not easy, plain sailing, because we lost our mother. No one's given us any guidance, but Allah put these mentors as our guide to excel in our industries. So then I did my placement year. I met all the traders. I used to be on the trade floor for 6 months, and then I was working in global transaction services for the other 6 months. I used to play football with the traders. I was getting paid amazing money. I was wearing a suit. Just imagine, at the age of 20 odd, I think I was 20 at that time. Yeah, to be working in such a corporation like that, it was crazy. It was nice. A dream come true, and it kind of set the stone for my career.
Wow.
Yeah, I still look back at it, and one of the things was I was young, of course, and very athletic at that time. Now I've put on weight.
No, you're not being kind to yourself.
The traders, they at that time I used to work on the desk at that time, and I used to get all the sandwiches in and coffees in and whatnot in the morning.
You were the chaiwala.
Yeah, but they used to, in a funny way, they used to call me Onion Raji.
Oh,
because I was probably at that time one of the only ethnics or Asians on the trading desk.
Yeah.
And this was going back 10 years. Then I built a report with them, and they invited me to play with clients at Upton Park.
Wow.
So it was us, City traders, and me. I wasn't a trader, but alhamdulillah, I was working as a placement student. I was quite athletic because all of the traders they were a bit lumpy. And we played with clients at Upton Park in Green Street.
Wow.
Empty stadium with the playing kits on, and I scored a goal.
No.
Just imagine, we won.
You must have felt like the star.
It was bizarre because they played the anthem "We're Forever Blowing Bubbles." When you come out.
That.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't know. I just don't know.
You're not into football. So the bubbles were blowing everywhere. It's like an anthem for West Ham.
Fine.
They played the anthem, and we're coming out, and it just felt surreal.
Wow.
Like me, out of all people,
Playing for West Ham.
They're not playing for West Ham,
No,
but playing on their ground.
That's mad.
I would never have thought that.
Bro, what do you think it is in your personality? What can you try and find a tangible, or well, not tangible, but
Yeah.
can you try and find a part of your personality or your mindset that has allowed you? What one thing is it that's allowed you to get that slight edge? Because you know these things, like for example, getting that placement year in for 40k, and I know you mentioned your mentors, and then like even things like building a great rapport with the other traders. Because I mean, I imagine that like at first like, oh, who's this kid, and then ending up where you are now in your career.
Yeah.
Can you pinpoint like a type of characteristic that you have that allows you? Obviously, we know rizq comes ultimately from Allah, right? And like if Allah didn't make it happen, it would never have happened. So we accept that. But can you think of a characteristic that you have that makes you push to try and achieve things that are not normal to achieve for your like age? You're only 31 as well.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
But I feel old, man.
But what is it? Can you? Is it your experiences that they've like hardened you? Or
I can pinpoint a few things. So the first thing is, what I've learned is, I've always think back. If mum was there, you know, anything that you do or you achieve, whether it's your degree, like I mentioned, settling down, buying a house, opening businesses, anything in life, buying your first car. If mum was around, I know for a fact she would be happy. And you do it the right way. You don't do anyone over. So I think, going back to your question, I think the first element is always mum. It's always mum in my mind. Mum. What would she think? What would she do?
Did you think about that before you jumped on the podcast today?
What do you mean?
Like, because you were not skeptical to jump on the podcast, but in a sense I
was quite nervous.
You were nervous,
I
right.
never expected to be on a podcast because I'm not very public facing.
Exactly, that's what I mean. So did you think like, when you were thinking about whether to do it or not, did you think like, what would mum say?
I did make the intention before I came here that mum would be happy to, if this is a positive impact on someone that's going through something similar, whether they've lost a parent or family member due to COVID, because we know I know personally, I know a handful of people that have lost family members, and they are just, you know, going ahead doing good things because they know their parents will be happy for them. So I think the key component for me was my mother. The second component, I think, that actually built where I am today, or how I portray myself to other people, and I think it's always giving back.
Okay.
Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be family, but whenever you meet someone, always think of giving back to them. Don't always think of taking, because it's all about making sure there's partnerships, making sure you can grow together as a not as a community, or as you know, when you meet people. You should, like when I mentor some of my mentees who are also from a similar background to I am, but maybe they've not lost parents, but they're trying to get into the industry. I always tell them, make sure you always give back. Never ask for anything, because that is where you build that relationship, is when you give something back to someone, whether it's your advice, whether it's your time, or whether it's generally, you know, just smiling at them, or, you know, basic things. So I think that, I would say those two components have worked for me. And of course, like you can say the basic stuff like dressing well, make sure you're punctual.
But I think that's a result of what I'm talking about. Like the fact that you give back is a result of what I'm talking about. The fact that you're punctual is a result of it. What's the characteristic trait? Are you more empathetic than other people? Are you less fearful than other people because of your experiences, so you're not scared of the risk? Like what's that thing that pushes you to be
I think is whenever I see someone, like take for example when I was at my placement year, I managed to get a meeting with Terry O'Leary. Terry O'Leary was second in line to Vikram Pandit at that time. So imagine sitting with Terry O'Leary and he asked you a question, because he sponsored my placement year. And he would I straight away thought, he's a human being, I'm a human being. What's the worst that can happen? He's not gonna. He's human.
That's the thing that I was interested in, because like most people, I don't think like that. I get scared and nervous all the time. But the fact that you can rationalize quickly to yourself is amazing.
I think that's the key, because if you think that the person that you're meeting, whether they've mashallah very successful, or whether they're, you know, just started, treat them as a human being, because they're going to be empathetic towards your experience. I think that's what connected us two together, is when we spoke, I laid my cards on the table. I said, this is me. I don't want anything, but let's connect. And, you know, it's brought me here. which I never to this day thought I'd be on Freshly Grounded, man. With all the mashallah successful people you've had on here, I'm a nobody.
You're not a nobody, bro. Honestly, like you're so inspiring, man. Like hearing your story, you're like levels ahead of like where I would love to be at the point that you're at when I'm 31. I'll be like very proud of myself. You know, just
I won't say I'm proud. I think my mother would be proud. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
But going, let's see if we can add some more bits for those that are
context, fine.
Yeah, for those that are looking to, you know, whether they're looking to get into the industry, the finance industry or the corporate world. It's now that COVID's going to end soon, inshallah. I would always recommend people to just go out and risk asking questions or meeting people, connecting with people, whether it's on LinkedIn, just dropping people a message, whether it's just saying, hi, I've seen your profile, I would like to connect with you. Would it be possible if we can have a quick Zoom call? I'm looking to
would you like to come to my coffee shop for a coffee, like
exactly,
you said to me? No, but you have to understand why I said that. So just to give context, Raja emailed me and was like, sorry, Zazi. Zazi has so many names. Alright, so Zazi emailed me and said, so Zazi came to one of my seminars, a virtual seminar, because it was during COVID, and then said, we should do coffee. And I said, or we should let's meet up or something. And I said, when lockdown finishes, let's go to a coffee shop.
Yes, correct.
And then you said, yeah, why don't you just come to mine? Like my coffee is like way better or something. My coffee is way better than Starbucks. That's what you said. I think I said let's go to Starbucks. You were like my coffee's better. So then I was like, oh, I didn't know you had a coffee shop.
And then I'm like,
and then you email me back like, what? I'm at my house.
I think you assumed I had a coffee shop because you've been exposed to other people having. I think
it's because I said let's go to a coffee shop, maybe Starbucks, and you said come to mine.
Mine is better.
Mine's better. So I was like, oh, like he has a coffee shop and it's better than Starbucks.
Yeah, and then I was like, I don't have a coffee shop. I was saying that the coffee that I make
at home
is much better. And then that was interesting.
And then today we was meant to sort that out. But so hold on a second. So let's go back to this. What coffee do you do at your house? Because you've spoken to me a lot about your specific coffee. Can you give us the secrets as to why your coffee is so great?
I think it's the way we make it.
Who's we?
Me and my partner. I think no, it's not the way we make it. I think there's nothing special.
Do you make it with the?
It's just instant. It's just instant coffee. It's not nothing with a machine.
You know, even like the little like glass cylinder and stuff. No, but
we've got these.
Do you have like cups. The paper, the filter paper and stuff? Wow, so it's just coffee.
We've just got these nice looking cups which we've recently bought.
You want someone to use them because COVID, nobody's been having. No. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm glad that never ended up happening. No, joking. But you do. Have different types of coffee, right? Because you said that your granddad. No.
So one of my my father's first cousin, our second uncle, he is in the coffee industry, so Starbucks.
Fine.
So he's got franchises and whatnot, and he.
Oh, he has a Starbucks.
He's got several, alhamdulillah. So he's mashallah doing
so
very
that's
well.
why you're against Starbucks. And don't go to Starbucks.
And he's going to be sending me some samples, which I think I mentioned to you, where Starbucks actually sample coffee to the main suppliers in the UK or the main franchise in the UK, and unfortunately certain blends they can't produce much of, whether it's from Chile, Argentina, or some of the main countries that supply. So they can't produce, so they give these to the main franchise owners, and they would of course use it for their personal use. So these are not sold within the Starbucks franchise, if that makes sense, or the branches. So imagine it's a blend which no one else has tasted.
Wow. So. And is that in the form of instant coffee then?
Instant coffee.
So your uncle must make it into instant coffee.
I think he does, yeah. Because he's not sending it to me, so if he listens to this,
I want to tell if he listens to this, I want some too.
I've asked him like twice now. He said he promised, but
yeah. Oh man. So how much in terms of, I don't know if you want to, I know that you're like you've started one or two companies.
Yes.
And you're a bit of a serial entrepreneur.
I wouldn't say that. No.
But you are a bit. I think. What do you have to do to become a serial entrepreneur? So you just have to have like more than one business, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm serial. I think I'm in the start of that
of being a serial entrepreneur.
Inshallah. Yeah. Why not?
And but the projects that you're about to start working or you're working on that you're releasing and stuff like that, are they at the early stages? Where can we look out for that, or will you jump back on Freshly Grounded when it's time to talk about those and so that people can follow the journey?
Look, we can talk about them. So the first one, of course, the credit doesn't just come to me. It's of course my partner as well, because if it wasn't for her guidance, of course, the first one wouldn't have started in COVID. So she started alhamdulillah, jewelry business. The tag is called Jewels by Lilia. So she started that, and alhamdulillah, it's doing very well in the sense that she'll be sleeping and she'll get several orders in the night, and it's just, it's ticking away. So she's now working towards, making it an empire. I would say, just she wants to grow to the next level. Inshallah. And I think she will, because she's got the mindset for it. So that's the first one, Jules by Lilia. We started all in lockdown. Wow. And it's just, we've all, started something and we never know if it's going to work out, and alhamdulillah, it's worked out for her. The second one being, and I think this is what we kind of connected, there was that element which I'll let you explain. It's called it's essentially a male grooming company which provide essential tools for your anatomy. It's
that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, for your anatomy essentially. So it's a company is called Trimwise. We're looking to launch in March, inshallah. And we've got one of our main competitors, which I'm sure you're aware of. I think that's why I want in more than anything. I was like, when we had our call, I was like, that's a company I'm interested in, man. Go on, I'll let you carry on. Yeah, so whenever there's competition in the industry, it's all healthy competition. Yeah, definitely. And we know for a fact that as Muslims, and we're not aiming, this product is a trimmer for the male anatomy within the sensitive parts, armpits, below the belt, etc. And we know that the competition is of course, been in the industry for a couple of years now, and of course they've got the major
they've pretty much got monopoly, right?
Yeah, I think they have. But we are coming from a different angle, in the sense that we're gonna add a smart element to our product. So the trimmer, we've called it the anatomy trimmer, which is waterproof. Same technology as Manscaped. And
oh no, you said
I had to drop it in.
Oh no,
oh no. But same technology, but half the price. Fine. So why can't we come into the market with our own branding, our own look and feel, and provide it to the marketplace? And as Muslims as well, it's not aimed towards Muslims, but as the Muslim market, we have to be clean in certain parts. So that's one element. And of course, there's other products that we're looking to launch, like for example, the first one's called the anatomy trimmer, of course, 1.0. The other product is when you trim your beard, etc., you get trimmings on the sink, and we've come up with a product called the inhaler, which actually sucks all of the trimming here on the sink.
So if you want a little moustache trim, just run it over, and it also works as a hoover. That's a separate product, which is called the inhaler. It's like a little hoover type vacuum, and it sucks off all of the hair on the sink. And so I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm excited about that company, and I'm excited to hear more about it and see how you go.
Yeah, definitely. And I would like to, of course, from your experience with one of our main competitors, if there's way we can work together, and of course I'm going to be using feed source to do
man, for sure. But I'd love to work with you, and hopefully we can discuss business off air more. But listen, Raj, I know that we're a bit tight for time, although we should be a bit okay. That made no sense.
I think we're okay. We're okay for time.
We're a bit tight for time, but we're okay. But we are rounding up the story anyway. So let's round up, because what's the main message that you would want to get across to the audience today by listening to your story, listen to the hardships that came at the beginning, and just now we've been speaking about the fact that you're got these new businesses and your job and all sorts. What do you want people to take away from this episode?
I think the key thing that I would say to the listeners is, when you face rejection, you have to get up again and try again. And a lot of people face rejection, whether it's in their personal life, whether it's their work life, or just generally within even people's families. So like whether you're getting married to a certain person, your family reject the proposals or whatever. But I would say it's always, and I think a lot of people would say the same, but I would say rejection should make you stronger. And just keep going, because remember one thing: you can get knocked down 100 times, but you know for a fact that that last moment you can get something, and you're like, oh wow, I didn't know I had this in me. So think of it like within yourselves, have that mindset. I think it's all about mindset. Have that mindset of, I know I can go and get something if I put my mind to it. And I think that is what me and my brother did, because he wanted to become a dentist. Alhamdulillah, he is a dentist now, but he got rejection into getting into the actual dental school. So he was rejected before he actually got in. So he had to do a second degree. And myself, I was rejected in several job offers before I actually got an offer. So you have to see that it's within yourself and your own mindset. And the second thing I would say is use your time efficiently. Like, lockdown has enabled a lot of people to start businesses or start new startups, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's selling on Amazon, drop shipping, etc. Use your time to create things, because you never know, something can explode and it'll be something out there. You never know, it can make you some pocket change, but it'll be some income coming in before you start whatever industry you're going into to focus on your career. Because of course there's different levels of income. You've got earned income, which is through your 9 to 5. You've got passive income, whether it's through your investments, whether it's stocks, whether it's any sort of investments you've made in certain types of assets. And then you've got the passive income, which comes through investments. So I always see it as, in your 20s to 30s, which I've just passed, work your backside off, because you have to do the hours. You have to put the hours in. And then when you reach between 30 and 40, which of course I'm in now, start investing in your future, whether it's buying your own property, whether it's setting up investments that are going to pay residual income. And those assets will pay for your retirement, essentially. And I think everyone should be working towards that. And you see from the statistics, for the statistics in the industry, that a lot of Asian people are on the property market because they know that assets are secure. Instead of buying flashy cars or going on flashy holidays, which everyone does, it's getting on the property ladder. And I think a lot of Asians have done that.
I lost the question. I was going to say, what age would you like to retire?
I don't know, actually.
Because you seem like you would never want to stop working.
No, I would continue working. As long as I'm healthy, I think, and I'm able to, I think I would work.
Fine.
But I want to make sure my children are comfortable. Like my father was working, even though he had no education. He wanted to make life easier for us, even though he tried his best. But his best was just working 9 to 5 as a cab driver, and they don't earn much. He wasn't a black cab driver; he was a normal private minicab driver. And I think that's what I want to do: make sure my kids are comfortable, so that they don't need to rely on others to be stable in life. I think, and they have something to look back at. My father worked hard for us, and he's left us this behind. So I think that's key. That's
amazing, man. And I just want to say a massive thank you to you for jumping on the podcast. I know you were nervous about it.
Yeah, man.
How was it, by the way? Did you?
I think you make it comfortable, and you're such a likable guy. And I think that's when I first spoke to you, I think you make things comfortable and easy. And I think that's where I was comfortable when you invited me. And I was shocked.
Did you manage to forget about the cameras and stuff, or not really?
I've not even thought about the cameras.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, bro, because you was a bit nervous.
I was, man.
It was a great conversation, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's lovely to have conversations more often.
I think it's not just that. I think it's more, I don't have much to, my experience doesn't say anything. I think the key thing is for people to understand that just continue working hard. Work hard, and that you can't teach. You can't teach anyone to work hard.
Yeah.
And when you work hard, reward's going to come with your hours that you put in. So, and look at the hard work that you do. Alhamdulillah.
We've got a long way to go, man. But
yeah, man.
It's lovely to speak to people like yourself, and it was amazing to connect. And hopefully one day I can try that coffee as well. And
I'll send it to you, inshallah.
Report back, inshallah. Thank you so much, Zazi, and inshallah, thank you for everyone who watched episode 221. I think this is of Fresh Grounded, and we'll see you again next week.